I have a statue of something today. Uh, yes, obviously this is a statue of Reverend Nichiren, but we don't know that much about him. We talk about him a little bit, but we want to know a little bit more about him. And if you could explain to us what this statue represents, that would be wonderful.
Sure. So that statue, in fact, I have one here. I don't know if you can see it. Yes, that one of the people who practice with my Sangha gave to us. And he is also holding the sutra in one hand, and in the other, in his right hand, he's holding what's called a shaku, which is, it's been translated variously as like a ritual baton or a scepter or something like that. What it was originally was court nobles would hold that, and well, in the right hand they would hold that, and they could write notes on the back. So it's almost like a combination talking stick, like if you're having a discussion or a debate, if you're holding that up, you get to speak, and a cheat sheet, because it'd have all the notes on the back. So what that statue is representing is Nichiren in debate mode, because when he was a monk at Mount Hiei, he was trained in the way of practicing Buddhist debate, formal discussions. And of course, in his left hand, he's holding a scroll of the Lotus Sutra. So I guess that's a good way of introducing who Nichiren was and what he was about. Nichiren was, unlike many other founders of the Japanese schools, was born to a very poor family. He says they were fishermen. They may have been of samurai background, or his father may have been at one time, but in any case, he was either a fisherman or like the head man of a fishing village. And through his connections, he was able to have his son, who became Nichiren, receive education at the local Buddhist temple, Seichoji, which at that time was connected with the Tendai school. And when he went there for training, he later decided he would become a monk. And he then continued his studies in Kamakura, which was the center of the shogunate at that time, the Kamakura shogunate. And then he went on for further studies at Kyoto on Mount Hiei. And he also studied with the 6 original schools of Japanese Buddhism, the so-called 6 schools of Nara. And then he went down to Mount Koya, studied with the Shingon school. So he studied all the various forms of Buddhism that were available to him at that time. And his question was, what is the true practice? What is Buddhism really about? Because, these people say you should just sit, and these people say you should chant the name of the Buddha of infinite light and be reborn in a pure land after death. These people say you should do esoteric rituals and try to become a Buddha in this very body. But so there's all these different teachings. What is the true teaching? And especially, what is the true teaching that will help everybody? Not just the elite or the aristocrats, the people who have the education and the time and the money to do expensive rituals. Not just a certain select group of people, but some practice that is for everybody, the poor as well as the rich, the uneducated as well as the educated, the lay people as well as the clergy. And after many years of study and reading the sutras, and especially reading the commentaries and writings of the founders of the Tiantai school in China, the great master Tiantai and Miao Lo, he decided, or had the conviction, that the Lotus Sutra was where all the other teachings are leading to. And that the reason for that is because the 2 most important teachings of the Lotus Sutra for Nichiren in the Tendai school is, one, that the Buddha is not teaching different goals for different people. He's teaching one goal, the one vehicle, that everyone can attain Buddhahood. That's the ultimate goal for everyone. So there may be intermediary goals or provisional goals, but really everyone who enters the Buddhist path and takes up Buddhist practice will attain Buddhahood. And the second thing was that Buddhahood, the Shakyamuni Buddha in chapter 16 Lotus Sutra says, you think I became enlightened 40 years ago before I taught this particular teaching while I was sitting under the Bodhi tree, but actually I've been a Buddha for bazillions of years in the past, more than you can count, and I will continue to be a Buddha, present, helping people to attain Buddhahood quickly. So there's this idea that Buddhahood is something that has no beginning and no end, effectively. So therefore, Buddhahood is not some total uh, end point annihilation. So, someone becomes a Buddha, teaches, and then enters nirvana and disappears forever. Uh, and also, Buddhahood isn't something that can be just attained in the future. Somehow, Buddhahood is always present in some manner in our lives. So these are the two most important teachings for Nichiren, this idea that everybody can practice the one vehicle, or that all the teachings and practices are the one vehicle, and that Buddhahood is without beginning or end, and especially as represented by what we call the eternal Shakyamuni Buddha. The other thing is that the Tendai school, while it did teach these things, is really an umbrella school. It has many different ways of practicing Buddhism in Tendai. You can do Shikan meditation, which means tranquility and insight. You can chant Nembutsu. You can do Mikyo, esoteric ceremonies. All of these are ways of practicing various forms of Buddhism in the spirit of the Lotus Sutra, but Nichiren wanted a way that people could directly practice the Lotus Sutra. So that's why he chose to use the title as the main practice. And just as everybody was able to practice Nembutsu in his day, thanks to the teaching of Honen, Nichiren decided that the Daimoku would be accessible to everyone. They could just chant the Daimoku. And according to chapters 17 through 19 of the sutra, the merit of accepting the Lotus Sutra and rejoicing in it, which is what happens when you chant Daimoku, is greater than all the merit of practicing the six perfections of generosity and morality and patience and all that for thousands of years. Like somehow all of the merit of many, many lifetimes of practicing the six bodhisattva perfections are wrapped up in Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. And in fact, he says it's like, for those who can't understand the sublime teaching of the Tendai school, it's like the Buddha has wrapped them all up in the gem of Namu Myoho Renge Kyo.